Okay, so last we left off, we talked about what the grid was. Imagine your external frames grid kind of looks like Manhattan, right? You're in Manhattan, New York City. Got this grid. Well, from an aerial point of view, you can see when something's coming and when it's going, right? You can be over here. If you have bird's eye view, you can see when something's starting to flood in this way and overflow and pass over and stretch out and spread out, right? Something's filling this grid, starting to stretch out and spread out. This is what we call knowing the end from the beginning. And also, this is what Isaiah said. In Ecclesiastes, they call it the what shall be. It's how to know what shall be. It's kind of like economic indicators, like in a market. It lets you know which way a market's going, whether the market is going to be a bull market, right, or if it's going to be a bear market. Right, it goes up, and you're gained by trading and stuff, and now you're working the market by increase, but you can also work the market by decrease. You can sell high and buy back low and keep your profit margin, right? It's the same way economics and spiritual dynamics work the exact same thing. We're in an interrelated system. That's why you have to know the 7 arts and sciences, because if you know the art of geometry and then also the art of arithmetic, you can understand, math and grids and pictures of your scales and how to predict the end from the beginning. But it's also the way the spirit realm is broke down in. The spirit realm that connects into all intellectual things and all physical things. It's one big system that you have to kind of understand how it works. And this is why prophets were called seers. They see, right? They can tell you what shall be. They can tell you what shall be. Like, what do you mean, what shall be? Well, they can tell you when good or evil, or we could say blessing or cursing. Evil brings cursing, good things bring blessing. It's a law. That's why you have to know how all this whole thing was made. That's why when you know the 7 arts and sciences is called the knowledge of God. Once you see the interrelated system, you can't deny that there's a God. When they hide those things, that's what makes us agnostic and atheist. So we'll get into that. But what shall be, when it shall be, what shall be after. What do you mean after? What shall be after? Well, after something has been removed or installed. Another word for installed is set up. So if this is your Manhattan grid and these are your buildings and they got high places in them that controls your laws and things like that, it's a business. You can control where people go. You can use laws to what we call fence up their way. They can't go this way. Like, no, this territory is off limits now. You can't go over there. Right? You can fence up their way. This market shut down. We're not going to invest in that market no more. Right? You can fence up someone's way. Now they can only move in here. Right? Fence up someone's way. You can know those people that are installed or set up, they control the laws. So therefore they control the times. So times tell you what shall be. That's what times are. All this what shall be is, you can tell it what time it is. You know what's up. When it shall be. So there's a big question right now. I don't know if I can get on it and get into it yet, but I won't get into it. Because it'll be too heavy for too soon. Too much too soon, as we call a bridge too far. What's a bridge too far? Well, remember we talked about we have scales. There's certain thing at the higher levels. We got 7, 6, 5, 4. There's certain things at this level that we know about that we can't bring up yet because all these things right here, there's breaches. There's breaches or breaks. Right now, the church, and anyone that knows the secret arts, right now, not much of the secret arts, I should say, is in a state of being scattered. They're scattered. You're scattered by breaches. So right now, our networks and our branches and our vines, our vineyards, our assemblies have already been brainwashed. So their hand is kind of weak. At best, the church, like I said, is a day 2 or day 3, and they get together and they raise money for their potlucks, and they don't take over their city. They basically run a pyramid scheme. The pastors are paying off the bills and of the building off the backs of the congregation. The congregation's doing it to each other because they're flipping houses and paying for their mortgage or renting out rooms and stuff like that, all because of money changing. Money changing is the ability to print off money. It used to be melt down gold and stuff to pay the people at the top. They get what they want, but it's at the expense of everyone else. It's a pyramid system, and it's a locust system, a leech system that begins to deplete someone else and at their expense and give it to you. And so because of the Federal Reserve System and all that, people buy into the knowledge of the pyramid schemes. Like, well, what else is there? We already talked about last time that there's 4 squares. And it's like, well, then everyone's going to have everything. It's already worked. The first church knew it. It worked. It shut down the Roman Empire. And right now, our nation operates like the Roman Empire. Not any difference. The same doctrines. We just don't call it Rome right now. So when you install, there's 2 people you can install and remove. So to say that, you have to be up here at this level, 5, 6, 7. That's where your power. That's where your power is. That's where your strong hand is. You're strong. You have strength and power because you know all the scales. You understand how everything works internally and externally. These are your strong people. These are your stars. But also, not just called stars, they're called kings. Either of the earth, which is your west wood people, and your southwood people, or they're the kings of the east. That's your eastwood and your northwood. They're installing the kingdom of God into the government so that people might be free. That's the verses. These are dichotomies, one against the other. So they're always, right now, I'd say the church isn't much of a king right now, but there is people that know these tactics right now. They're in the government sphere trying to remove the money changers right now. That's why I said there's certain groups online that I want to reach out to, because certain people know the petrodollar is collapsing because it's meant to. Fiat currency system is going away. They're going to switch up to a cryptocurrency, but they're trying to back it by gold. There's a lot of people giving me heat about this online, but how did I learn all this stuff if I don't know what I'm talking about? I know exactly what I'm talking about. I challenge anyone to challenge me, because I'd like to do a public display though. I'd like to see where you're at. I talked to a banker in the ballroom world, and he doesn't even know what's going on because he's asleep. They don't tell you at the higher levels what they're doing. They are bringing out a brand new money system. That's why all the dark arts are out right now. All of it's in full effect because Babylon is about to fall. That's what we're going to tell you. What shall be after what? They're removing right now the kings. They're removing the kings of the earth right now out of the government spheres, 7 spheres of influence. They're all about to go to prison. Right now they're saying the kings of the east are the bad guys. They're saying these guys have did all this, collusion and blah, 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 and all this stuff. Well, sort of. If you understand what they're colluding for, they're not colluding to to throw off the voting stuff. They're colluding to kick out the banks. That's what's happening. So you guys don't have to work 30 years to pay for a house. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if, because my generation's not buying houses. I remember in my parents' generation, they said, well, go work hard. It was easier back in their day than it is today. Like right now, if you want to get a house, the prices are so much higher now because in 08, they try to change it online, say 09, but in 08, I was in New York when recession hit. They printed off more money and caused hyperinflation. Now it's like almost like you have to sell your soul. You're going to get yourself into bondage buying a house like that. But that's all about to change in about 2 more years. So I'll say on that. So after something's been, what shall be after? Well, you can remove good and put in evil and put people in pyramid schemes. Or you can remove evil, put in good, and put people in 4 squares. That's what's coming. Okay, so you can tell when it shall be. How can you tell when and where? Because you have to understand, when you take over high places and you understand a grid, you can see something afar off. You can look down the road and see the end from the beginning. You can tell what shall be, when it shall be, what shall be, and which shall be. Which what? Which good or evil? This is all in Ecclesiastes, the book in the Bible, if you don't know that. So those are your times. We can tell you what time it's going to be. You know, we can tell you when the kings of the earth degenerate people through their brainwashing, and they do it from a position of authority externally, because these are external scales too. There's internal scale positions that are higher and stronger than others, right? So we have to build a bridge to get there, because, like I said, all these breaches need bridges. If it's a bridge too far, we can't talk about it yet. I already talked about some things that might be a little too far for some people. So, what shall be, when it shall be, what shall be after, and which shall be, is what we had to cover. So the next thing is a stone. There's stones of fire and stones of emptiness. Stones are, of course, you build with stones, but more than that, it's a stratagem. Stratagem, they don't say stratagems anymore, they say strategy. They're strategies of how the internal network works on a person, and also externally in position. Everything's external and internal with these. The fire relates to the east, the sun. And so this stone of fire is walking grounds. It's a walking ground for angels. Walking grounds for angels. And the emptiness is walking grounds for demons. Now these are stones that have to be worked through a westwood. The westwood empties you. The eastwood fills you with fire. When you're a person that's filled with a good energy of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, what happens is you set up this network. This is what's in this movement. This might be a little too hard because I don't believe in angels and demons. Well, okay, I don't care. I'm going to tell you what the science is. This ain't my teachings. This is something that was given to me by masters, and I'm giving it out to you guys. So you can do what you want with it. So, stones is a stratagem. I hope I can. A stratagem is like a diamond, right? Like a diamond or a gem. That gem, again, sits on a person, right? Looks like this gem. I won't draw it all out, kind of like a disco ball. It looks like a giant ball of constellations, like stars that sit on you, right? And you get a bunch of these people together, right? That has the same frequency. And this stretches out and spreads out through them. It's all the same frequency, right? They all know the same things, and stretches out and spreads out through a grid. Now you're setting up a walking ground for angels to pass through from person to person, person to person, to open up gates, windows, doors of opportunity. This gets us set up for the day 4. Day 4, you begin to learn how to open and close doors. What kind of doors? Well, there's internal doors, and there's that opens up what we call the internal doors. The internal, this is crazy stuff, opens up either the bottomless pit, we call hell, inside you. You got hell coming up, and this energy. You got demons now. Demons walking through you and through your whole body, and they can close certain doors and all that stuff too, and open up certain doors for themselves. Right? So you got internal doors that opens up the bottomless pit, but that's from a westwood. The westwood is that dark policies, right? The dark policies, west. West is dark. The sun's going down. Dark. Now they can walk up and down, to and fro in you, right? They walk up and down and to and fro in the midst of the stones of emptiness. Now angels walk up and down. Angels, they walk up and down midst of stones of fire, and now they open heaven. That's the ladder, Jacob's ladder, that was ascending and descending upon the Son of Man, Jesus. How did heaven open? This is why miracle signs and wonders are not happening, because we don't know how this works. All these doors and opening is at a 4th level. That's how to understand a grid. How to understand a grid. So now the next, what they did was the demons, the doctrines of devils and the commandments of men, the traditions of men, or the seduction. I'll say this way. Last thing I'll say with this, before we get into a day 2, or I'm going to say day 2, a day 4. What all happens besides the open and closing doors, gates, walls, is that 4. And I just lost my place. They build the westwood. Westwood is built. They had to build that. So they had to get us to stop building Eastwood. There's a whole story, there's a backstory we're going to get to. We're building to it. But the Westwood is a stratagem on a person that allows demons to walk through you, but they need to come out of the bottomless pit. But you have to know where demons came from. That gets into all this is a whole nother topic. It's online. You can watch it. But the Nephilim, giants. Look it up. All right? These guys want bodies. Demons can't just possess anybody they want. They got to set up a Westwood on you. They have to set up a stratagem on you to walk up and down and to and fro in the midst of you, right? And so that's done through seduction. And then they place the abomination of desolation. And that's a whole big topic right there. That's another time. That's what art of seduction does. The dark art of seduction. The dark art of separation was to change or to separate, to break, to part, to divide, to separate, to hide by separation. The Eastwood, so you could stop building it. Because when you have an open door to heaven, it closes the door to the bottomless pit on the inside of you. Right? So the Eastwood, it has to be built. And like I said, when that goes through, they try to stop. Okay, so seduction was they try to take away the keys of knowledge of key of David, keys of knowledge. That's how you take away keys. That's how you stop the Northwood. You stop building 4 squares. And the only thing they should know is the Southwood. Only know the Southwood. Only know pyramid schemes. And you have to know why this whole thing takes place. It all has to do with a story of what happened to Lucifer and God. Once you understand that, then you understand the third of the angels, how they left heaven. You'll understand this entire thing. That's why it's like whether you like religion or not, you have to understand. If you understand who rules the world, it's three things. 4. You got the the Islam, you got the Christians, the Jews, and the pagans. You have to know about all four. That's it. That's all there is. Everything's variations out of that. You have to know their doctrines if you want to get involved in politics and building a city. This is very apostolic. So seduction was used to set up a Westwood so they can place devils inside you. And then they want to, eventually, they're going to try to get their bodies back. That's what cloning artificial intelligence is. That's all I'll say about it, because it gets a little freaky when you're up here, guys. This is all this crazy secrets. Like, you can't handle this right now till you start playing the game. And the seduction also, it built, so Chambers of the South was for pyramid schemes. Chambers of the Westwood was to place abomination and desolation. So that way you couldn't have God inside you. You could have the devil inside you. And then Northwood was 4 squares where everyone's equal. And that fits God's program, but it doesn't fit the devil's program. And that Southwood stuff, those pyramids all build how they build Babel, or the mystery Babylon. Once you find out what that is, it has to do with all these guys. This is not fairy tale, guys. This is real stuff. So we're going to get into this. I had to lay this foundation because next is going to be what happens on day 4. More about the opening and closing doors. That's it.